like that strange crotch itch, I'm back again. Master of Ceremonies, Thoughtless Virus here. This is part 2 of my series on role-playing games and getting started with them and dealing with some of the issues that arise. This one is all about getting started DMing. In my last video, I talked about how to get started as a player. You know, maybe you've never played before. Maybe you've, wanted to learn. This one is going to be all about getting started as a DM. And now there's 2 different kinds of getting started as a DM. There's, I've never played a role-playing game before, me and my friends want to learn, and somebody has to DM. That's one side of it. The other is, I've been playing role-playing games for a while, but I've never DM'd before, and now I want to DM. That's the other side of it. So we'll start with the everybody is new at this kind of DM. The I'm new, all my players are new, we've never played a role-playing game before. How do we get started? Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, if everyone is new, pick a system that is easy to DM for, which basically narrows it down to 4th edition. 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which once again, we'll show this book. Showed it in my last video. This is the player's book, but I also have, just at hand, the Dungeon Master's book and the Monster book. That's a very, very easy system to DM for. Actually, it's so easy to DM for that there are rules in the Dungeon Master Guide on how to play without a DM. I think it's in the Dungeon Master Guide. Might be in the player's book. I don't know. I'd have to look. But either way, it's in one of the books on how to play without a DM. So what do? Well, you have a few options. The first is to buy a published module, which is basically an adventure someone else wrote and it got published and it's, been tested and played and, it's a playable game. You take it, you pair it with your rule books, and you suddenly have DMing in a box. And that's okay. That's good to get started because it's going to let you feel the rules. It's going to let you feel what it's like to play from the other side. Because of the fact that it's very different playing as the DM, because you have all the information. You know what's behind the next turn, you know what's behind that door, you know where all the treasure is hidden, you know who the real bad guys are. So it is quite different. You also have the ability to cheat, because the players don't get to see your dice rolls for the most part. You can roll in front of them to prove that you're not cheating. But that's a whole nother video. And I should do another video on tips for DMing, but so yeah, pick a system that's easy to DM for. Like I said, 4th edition D&D is very easy to DM for, because 4th edition is very easy to DM for because of the fact that most of the time monsters and stuff and situations you deal with all have very specific rules on how they're dealt with. For example, if you want to climb, it tells you this is the number they have to roll on their athletics skill. Okay, that's easy. If they want to hit this monster, this is the number they roll. If they want to resist this effect, this is the number that has to, beat what the monster rolls, or what the trap rolls, or, it's very, very spelled out. It's very, very balanced. You won't have an issue like in, say, 3.5, Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, where you have one character who is far and away more powerful than every other character. Which is nice, because then you don't have a situation where one player is literally ruling the game over all the others. So you have one guy playing, this retardedly powerful wizard, and everyone else is playing, Bob the Fighter, Steve the Rogue, and they're doing They're there for meat shields for the wizard, basically. So that's always something you want to avoid, which 4th edition does do that very well. The next issue you have to deal with, the next thing you may want to consider doing, as a new DM with new players, besides playing 4th edition, again, was Descent Journeys into the Dark, 2nd edition, playing as the Overlord. Because again, then you still get you get that control feeling. You get that kind of, I get to pick where the monsters are, I know what's behind these doors, they don't sort of thing. And it does help you because you suddenly, the biggest thing most DMs I find have trouble with when starting is they go from playing one character to playing 5 or 6 monsters. Now they have to consider how these monsters are going to interact and, what's going to give them an advantage. And they have to consider, what's fair to my players, what's fair, what's not fair. I mean, those are all issues that arise, and playing, like I said, Descent Journeys into the Dark, it does help offset some of that, because fairness kind of goes out the window with that game. And that sounds weird, but it does, because everyone's playing from the same rulebook. Yeah, the Overlord does have a few extra powers he gets that players don't get, but there's 4 of them and 1 of him. And he's still limited in what he can do. So I mean, it's not unbalanced. It's just the Overlord can basically almost cheat in that, but I guess it's only cheating if it's not fair. And since fairness goes out the window, cheating becomes a viable option. I mean, he gets to place the monsters where he wants. He gets to choose how they attack. And because it's a board game, focusing on the strongest characters first and taking them out quickly is a valuable option. I mean, it's a valuable strategy to use. So, I mean, that's something the players have to deal with. And it isn't really cheating because it's not against the rules. Besides that, you can DM Pathfinder. Pathfinder, I find, seems pretty easy to DM for, because it takes a lot of the stuff that makes 4th edition easy to DM for and brings it in, while mixing in a lot of other stuff that makes 3.5 good over 4th edition. So, I mean, it does have nice advantages. So those are the 3 I'd recommend if you're brand new to DMing. And your players are brand new to playing. And you're brand new to playing. And someone has the unenviable task of being that guy who DMs the first game. And again, go into it with the mindset that your first game will suck. Because it will. Unless you do a published module as it's written, 100% your game is going to suck. And it'll suck a few times. Always does. Why? Because you have no idea what you're actually doing. Once you start doing it, you start to realize, hey, this isn't as terrible as I thought, or hey, this is, kind of cool, or hey, now I can tell this really cool story, or you'll come up and be like, hey, this really sucks, and I don't like this. Someone else needs to DM, because this definitely is not my bag. Okay, so on to the other side of the coin. You've played before, you know how to play, you know what an RPG is, you know how to tell the difference between a D4 and a D20, and you need a DM. Now, we're going to break this into 2 groups. First group is a DM who knows how to play, with players who don't. This happens when one guy is like, hey, my group fell apart, and I want to start a new group, and I want to, keep playing, and I want to DM, or, I want to keep playing, and I've never DM'd before, but, I want to keep going with this role-playing thing. It's kind of cool. And he calls his buddies up, and his buddy's like, sure, we'll play this, Dungeons and Dragons with you. Sure, it sounds like fun. So you get some guys together, and you sit down at the table, and you start making characters, and you know how to play, and they don't. So the first thing you'll want to do, pick a game system you know. But don't pick a game system that is too complex. Do not start them off on, say, Call of Cthulhu. Bad choice. You may love Call of Cthulhu. I love Call of Cthulhu. You may know the rules for Call of Cthulhu. What the fuck is that? I don't know. You may know the rules for Call of Cthulhu inside and out. Don't start them on Call of Cthulhu. Just no. Here's why. Call of Cthulhu, I'm using Call of Cthulhu as an example. What the hell? The camera's moving. Oh, that's right. Let's readjust this here. There we go. Yeah, my hair looks like shit. Okay. I'm using Call of Cthulhu as an example, but there's a lot of games like this where the rules are pretty heavy, or, by the reverse, the rules are very, very light. If the rules are really heavy, like in a game like Call of Cthulhu, you have this situation where players are going to only want to play the simplest of characters. I want to be, Bob the Fighter. Why? Because Bob the Fighter doesn't have to read the entire freaking rulebook. Bob the Fighter has to know how to swing his sword, how to block with his shield, and how not to get killed. That's about it. Whereas, Lathander the Wizard has to know, 15 different spells and all about, what spells can do what and how to hit with certain things but not other things, and, it's just too many rules. And by the reverse of that, you don't want to play a game that is too light in rules, like Fate. If your group has never played a role-playing game before and you play something like Fate, which is very rules light, you're going to have this problem where either your players won't know what to make. Like, I don't want to be, I don't know, do I want to be a wizard? Do I want to be a shapeshifter? Do I want to be, a gunman or whatever? Or they're going to have this idea and every character is going to... No characters are going to fit with each other. And you'll get into the game and no one will know what to do because everyone wants to do something different. Everyone is a different kind of character. This guy is based totally on crafting things. Well, this guy's based on fighting. Well, this guy's based on, talking to people. And well, now everyone wants to do something different. You have no people that are good at, oh yeah, this guy's good at combat. Well, when combat breaks out, what does everybody else do? Well, this guy's good at talking to people. Well, what does the combat guy do when this guy's talking to people? Sits there with his thumb up his ass. So if you do that, you have to have a very, very balanced game where everyone gets equal screen time. And being a new DM, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to do that. So you want to pick something middle of the road. Again, I hate to inflict it, but 4th edition is such a good learning game. Again, it's not a game that I'd stick around to. I don't recommend sticking around to it very long, but it's a good learning, it's a good gateway role-playing game. Again, Pathfinder is a pretty good gateway role-playing game too. Not as good as, say, 4th edition, but still pretty good. Even Shadowrun, the newest edition of Shadowrun, isn't too bad once you get over the hurdle of character creation. As long as you avoid picking, letting them pick something that is way beyond their scope. Don't pick a technomancer for their first character. In fact, Shadowrun is one of those games, it's a great one-shot game. Everyone just kind of throws some characters together, nothing, screw backstory, who cares, let's just go blow shit up. You make this adventure, they all get together, they throw some dice, they have some fun, they have some laughs, someone gets shot, someone else gets lit on fire, and the game ends. And then they're like, hey, that was kind of cool, I like this whole role-playing game thing. Well, then you've got them interested. Now you can move them into your Pathfinders, your Dungeons & Dragons 3.5s and 2.0s, and your Fate, or your Call of Cthulhu, or whatever you really want to play. Which is another tip. Pick a game the players are going to be interested in. You don't want to be that guy who likes, who's, oh, I like only fantasy role-playing games, while all your friends are like, they like Call of Duty or, Mass Effect or stuff like that. They like guns, blowing shit up. Give them a game where they can do that. There's enough games out there where you can blow shit up and shoot shit that you can find one you could DM reasonably easily, and they can have a lot of fun. So now we're going to move forward a little bit to the other side, where your whole group plays. Now you're the new DM and everyone has played. This can be both the easiest thing to do, or it can be the hardest thing to do. The reason it can be the easiest is you don't have to explain anything to anyone. Pick the system you already play. If your group, let's say your group DM drops out, and now you need a new DM, and you were the one voted to be the DM. Okay. No one's ever DM before, so you're it. Okay, so we have enough players to play, we have a new DM. If you pick a system everyone knows, it's going to be a lot easier. You're not going to have to explain, really, anything on how to play. Everyone knows the difference between a D4 and a D20. Everyone knows, oh, this is what I roll to hit, this is what I roll for damage, this is, how I cast a spell, or whatever. So that's great. Here's the problem. You're now DMing for a group that came in playing one game. Now it's a new game, you're a new DM, you don't know what you're doing, and you risk them literally looking at you and being like, that's not how that works. Then you're like, it's magic. Yeah, it's magic. I've heard that line so many times as a player from new DMs. It's magic. Okay, that describes nothing. New DMs seem to think that it's magic is the be-all, end-all answer to every question that a player is going to ask. Why didn't the sun rise this morning? It's magic. Well, we got jumped, but we had someone on watch. Why didn't he get a search check? Oh, it's magic. Why didn't I find that secret door? I'm an elf. I just walked by it. I get to roll. It's magic. It's magic. Also known as the DM forgot a rule, and now has to cover his ass. But I find that's still the easiest way to DM if you are jumping in as a DM. Because you can tell the players, hey, I've never DM'd before. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. Write them down. Keep a list of them so I know. And then at the end of the session, give me that list, go over it with me. Let me know what I did good, what I did bad. Use it as a learning experience kind of thing. And it works. If you have players who are willing to cooperate and players who are willing to help you, then you're going to want to DM. You're going to want to learn to DM. You're going to want to be a better DM, which is always good. Okay, now we're going to move forward to, now you know how to DM. You know what? Actually, let's not do that. I think I will make a separate video on more advanced tips for a DM on, well, I've already got the video dealing with problem players coming up. Yeah, I'll do a separate video for tips on DMing. So guys, this was my guide on getting started as a new DM. Oh, here we go. Actually, I just thought of something. I want to bring this up because I see so many new DMs do this. So again, this is the Monster Manual for 4th Edition Dungeons & Dragons. This is a dictionary. This is, everyone's like, oh, I'm building an adventure. I want them to encounter, let's see, we want them to encounter, here we go. Gnolls. They're pretty powerful. We'll go, there we go, goblins. Yep, we want them to encounter goblins. And they look through here, I want them to face... Goblin Blackblade. I want them to face 5 of them. So you have this 5 goblins versus 5 party members. Fight, 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 battle ends. And then you go into the next encounter and it's 5 goblins versus 5 party members. Well, the book says this is how many goblins should fight how many party members. It doesn't work like that. Granted, you could do that, but the adventure would become so dry and stale that it wouldn't be worth playing. It's a dictionary. Like, if you go to a dictionary, how do I spell this word? It's going to tell you how to spell that word, but it's not going to tell you, how to use it effectively. So, it's a guide. That's all it is. It has the monsters in there, but it will not tell you how to use them effectively. It will not tell you how to mix them effectively. If you go through, find a monster, and then find a completely different monster of equivalent level who's got a power that would be interesting to pair with your first monster. So, it can even be the same class, like Goblin. It can be the same grouping of monster, like Goblin. But instead of having 5 Goblin Blackblades, say you have a couple Goblin Blackblades, some Goblin Minions, maybe a Goblin, Slinger, which is a guy who stands in the back and throws shit. Yeah. Now all of a sudden you've got these minions who are swarming the players. You've got these Blackblades who are trying to get the flank and stab players in the back. And then you've got this guy standing back throwing shit at the players. And you've suddenly gone from having 5 goblins versus 5 players to having about a dozen goblins, some of which are weaker, versus your 5 players. And now they have to deal with 3 different types of goblins all at the same time. And each one has to be handled differently. The minions, the wizard's going to be best at. AoE spells. Wipe them out. The Blackblades, you're going to need like a fighter or, someone that can stand there and trade blows with them a bit. For the Slinger, you're going to need someone like a Ranger or even a Warlock could do that, or a Wizard. Someone who can throw stuff at range and fight back with them without having to rush in there. That's just a simple explanation, but there are other ways. You can mix goblins with, say, hobgoblins, or goblins with wolves. That's a pretty common one. It's like hobgoblins and direwolves kind of pair together, because a lot of times you see hobgoblins riding direwolves into battle. That works. So, it's not going to tell you how to mix monsters to make them effective. It's just going to tell you these are the monsters, these are their powers, this is how they work. It's up to you to figure out how to mix them together in a big pot and just kind of have fun with them. So, getting started DMing. And I will catch you guys again next time for a guide on dealing with your players and actually just finding players too. So, see you guys later.